Willkommen, bienvenido, welcome. Esto es Plan 9 y hoy nos vamos a encontrar con Ryan Kruger, director de Fright Barry, película que desde el 6 de mayo está disponible en Shudder para Estados Unidos, Reino Unido, Nueva Zelanda y Australia y continúa su paso por festivales. Hoy vamos a hablar de Miau Chu, su nuevo corto que ya estuvo circulando en el Grimm Fest y en el Fantaspoa, que Ryan muy amablemente me adelantó para poder verlo. Nice to see you again, my friend, and congratulations for the deal with Shudder. How are you?
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me back. Yeah, I'm well. Things are not so bad in South Africa and Cape Town. So, as I said, the bars are still open. We have a curfew. People are still wearing masks, but at least the cinema is open and people are working. So yeah,
That's amazing. Yeah, I saw a few pictures of you shooting a video. So
yeah, I just shot another experimental the other day, so it was nice just to be back on set again and filming. So it's been a while, so it was nice to be back on set again.
Cool. Well, when I was investigating for our first interview, I saw on IMDb the title of Miao Chu, and I saw, oh, fuck, it's a complicated title. So tell me a little about the origin of the title. How do you think the reactions of the viewers will be?
Yeah, well, I think, when I decided to make this experimental film, and it's, there's no dialogue in the movie, so it's very it's a very visual piece, and when I came up with the idea, I also felt that it fitted with the hashtag Me Too movement, and I think with the hashtag Me Too movement, it's it's a very, very important movement, and with hashtag Meow Too, this film celebrates the female power and the survivors of sexual assault, which is a very, very important thing. And I think the sexual harassment is I think it's a very common thing, especially in the film industry, and it's up to men to prevent that. And I think over the past few years, there's been more and more stories that have come out, with Harvey Weinstein and all these people. So yeah, it just seemed like a thing where I could really link that and give that message, to show that no offender is safe, and it's that revenge twist around, in the story.
Yeah, you have a good timing because Promising Young Woman came the last year, so I think that.
Yeah.
So, how you describe this short and the storyline? It's a kind of rape and revenge short.
Yeah, so for me, it's a very revenge style movie. So I mean, it's it's based in the near drenched future with living amongst cats and humans. I had that bit of a Blade Runner sort of feel, in that opening sequence, but it's not really about that. It's just, with the humans and the cats and these characters living together. And our lead character, Meow, the female, she's out having a drink, and the sleazy producer, he's, sitting in the bar, and he's looking for, his next victim, basically. So she meets this sleazy producer and tries to, use his power as a film producer, and, tries to, take advantage of her. And hashtag Me Out to You, it's a very ruthless revenge story that takes, on sexual abuse that it's exposed by the, hashtag Me Too movement. But yeah, like I said, it's just that the film basically shows the power of women and survivors that's experienced this stuff. So it's that switch around where, to show that no offender is safe. And, by the end of it, it's that whole turnaround where she ends up, he's thinking, oh yeah, I've got this, and this is what's going to happen. And, she takes that drink and then she, goes home with them, and then she wants to leave, and then he won't let her leave. It's like, no, you're going to stay here longer. And she doesn't want to be there. but then she's also feeling, quite dizzy and stuff. So, has he put something in a drink, or is she just too drunk? And on top of that, he goes into the bathroom there, and there was that clever thing what we did with catnip. So we all know that catnip, the cats, when you give cats catnip, they all get like, really rowdy over it. So that's when he goes into the bathroom, he's like rubbing it all over himself. So she's not going to be able to resist. But at the same time, when he comes out of there, then it's that turnaround, and then she just basically fucks him up, and it's not what we expected. But like I said, it's a very experimental piece. It's a very, very visual piece. As there's like no dialogue in the movie, so it's all about the feel and the tone, of the movie.
Yeah, there are much cinematographic universes that includes anthropomorphic beings live along with humans. In this case, the cats are more important than humans, so the humans are looked down. So how you build this world? You were thinking in a kind of dystopia, or is it a kind of metaphor?
It's more of a bit of a both, really. Like in a sense, is like not to look into it too much, as it is just entertainment, and it is just a story, but it has that strong message. But really, it was just building a world. I mean, it wouldn't make a difference if it was not the female cat and it was just a normal female. It was just from a movie maker's point of view and entertainment point of view, it's just to make, these two completely different people. We have the guy, and then we have the cat, and they're living amongst each other. So it's really, not to look too much into it. It's more of a choice that I made to make it a little bit more interesting and a little bit different. Otherwise it could have been just a guy and a girl in a bar, and there'll be no difference. And instead of what happens at the end of this one, it would be, the same thing, in a sense of, she'll end up stabbing the guy or shooting the guy or, killing the guy,
You were inspiring some of the 70s rape and revenge films from the United States?
Well, I mean, there has been films that I've, watched. I love a great revenge movie. There's nothing better than that good, sweet, revenge where something happens to somebody, or there's that twist that we don't expect, and you may think the victim is weak, and they show that in a lot of films where the victim is weak. It's like in a lot of horror films. It's the the girl running from the killer or whatever. But there's a lot of horror films there where the woman empowers herself and the people around her to be the hero at the end of the day and kill the killer, the stalker, or or whoever it is.
Well, tell me a little about the character of Meow. I was a little surprised when I saw her dancing with the creepy producer. Was the female fatale trope in your mind when you wrote the script?
Dude, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's really hard to. It's it's like when I made Fried Barry, and then people say, where did you get the inspiration from, or where? And I don't know. It's one of those things where I'll get an idea, and and I just write it down, and I come up with it. And yeah, so I think I said to you, last time, it's for me, I love 80s cinema, and I love, offbeat stories and something either different or something that we haven't seen before, or maybe we've seen it before, but we tell it in a different way. So for me, I always like to try and put a different spin on it and a different look on it. And I mean, even going back to Fried Barry, there's a lot of references in Fried Barry from different movies that I really love. I mean, even with the world of Meow 2, it could also fit into that crazy world of Fried Barry, So it really is, and that's why I said before, it's one of those things where I don't know. I mean, this is with me, hashtag Meow 2. It's a very important subject matter, and that's why I said from the start, it's the hashtag Me Too movement, which is very important. And that's why I said that, the film celebrates the female power and the survivors of sexual assault. And that's a big thing. So, and that's why I say, like, I'll get the idea and then I start, putting stuff together. But it's just a feel and a certain tone, to this piece of work. And that's why it's very experimental. And at the same time, with a lot of the pieces of work that I do, you don't always need to, it's like when people make films and they have all that dialogue and everything's on the nose and they're trying to explain everything. And with these short experimentals that I've been making, you don't need to, it didn't need any dialogue. You know what I mean? Everything's there. We understand that the girl's in the bar alone. We understand that, this guy gives her the business card. So, we really paint that picture of the scenario, and you really don't need to hear them speak of what they're saying, because we can tell by the body movement and the facial expressions of, where this thing's going. And it's the tone of the music and the feel of it to really make you feel, uncomfortable.
Well, you were talking about Harvey Weinstein. Alan Wine was, I think, obviously influenced by that guy, And I was thinking that, unfortunately, women deal with harassment all over the world. I want you to tell me, how is the situation in South African show business industry?
That's a good question. Well, to be honest, I don't know. In South Africa itself, I mean, I have to be honest. I'm sure there is stories, but I haven't heard any, major stories that's actually happened in South Africa. I mean, a lot of the stories that I've heard over the past few years is all coming from America. You always hear those stories, whether it's the producer, the director, or there's been actors, that's been exposed, which is great, because it's one of those things where people should speak up for themselves and get it out there, so these people can't do this shit again. And that's why so it's important for people to to tell their story and to get that out there.
Well, talk me a little about the sound editing. We hear a very strange sound during the short, like a constant howl that put us in a kind of a nightmare realm. So, what was the meaning of it, of sound?
This is the great thing about Hazer. So Hazer, he also did the sound design and the music for Fry Barry. And working with Hazer he's just amazing, and we just get each other and we work really quick. So I'll always go sit with him and say, this is the world and this is what I want. And then he's he starts, once we've created that world, we can he can just run with it. And and it's and that's why I said before, it's that tone of that feel or that music that makes you feel uncomfortable, like when she's when she's in the taxi and no good's going to come out of this. We know that from when she's sitting there, and then with the angle and everything, and him sitting there touching the leg, and it's it's cringeworthy where you're sitting there and you're going, oh, this is not good. It's not a good situation. And then she's there, but it's all to get that. Again, it's like Fry Barry, where Fry Barry was designed to make you feel uncomfortable, and this is also designed to make you feel uncomfortable and make you feel that you're sitting with this character where you want to be like, I need to get out of here, and no good's going to come from it. So she's trying to bail at the same time and get out, and with the music and the tone of it, that's helps with the visuals to feel what she's feeling and want to get out there. So it's the music and the sound design to make you feel uncomfortable, and I think that's a lot of stuff that I use within a lot of the pieces that I direct. It's to really put you in the story and really feel what this character's feeling and feeling uncomfortable. And with Fry Barry, it was just like, it really made you feel uncomfortable. And by the end of the movie, you just want to take a shower because you just feel dirty because it's all this drugs and you've been on this journey and you just like I need to take a shower, and you just feel dirty afterwards. So yeah, I think when it comes to music and the feel of something, I think it's a very important thing. And I think there's a lot of filmmakers that, you know, do independent films or short films and stuff like that, I think it's always great to have somebody do the score. It's always great to work, you know, instead of trying to get like stock music and free music and try to add this, and it really, to get a composer and somebody score your movie like Hazer, it really just takes it to the next level where it just involves you more, you know, within the movie. Because sometimes, you know, you'll watch you know, a film, it's like if you're sitting in your living room and you've got your TV on and you're not watching the TV, but you also got the music playing, and it's like it doesn't go, there's something wrong. So I really like squashing that together to have that feel and have that tone and to move through the movie with the character.
Well, you talk about Blade Runner. I noticed that there was a woman with an overcoat that I think that was inspired by the movie, because one of the Blade Runners wore something like that. So, and you were telling me that you like the movies from the 80s. So, which are your favorite ones?
So, I mean, I love Blade Runner, but it also depends on the genre of movies. Because I mean, for me, 80s cinema is my favorite. So, I mean, whether it's Blade Runner or The Goonies or Stand By Me, or, you know what I mean? It can literally, or The Fly or Christine, looking at John Carpenter's work and all that. So, I mean, it really does vary. And then even, you know, looking at like E.T. or Empire of the Sun, and I just think 80s cinema just had that look and had that feel that we just don't get anymore. And that's what I try to push with Fried Barry, you know, to get that like cult sort of feeling of those, you know, old 80s, you know, horror films or cult films. And I mean, even the lighting in Meow 2 is very, you know, it's very similar to scenes in, you know, in Fried Barry, and that's why it kind of fits, you know, into that world. And it's again with a lot of my work. And I mean, even the new film that I shot the other day, which is very interesting. I can't say too much about it, but it's very different and interesting and funny. So yeah.
Well, the last one. Here we aren't very familiar with South African cinema, with the exception of the work of Neil Blomkamp, maybe. So, can you recommend us some movies and directors from South Africa?
Yeah, I mean, you see, the interesting thing with South Africa, with cinema in South Africa, we've only over the past 2 to 3 years, especially in the last 2 years, there's cinema is starting to change in South Africa. And again, going back to Fried Barry, we don't make those sort of movies in South Africa whatsoever. We're known for the historical movies about, you know, history of South Africa and comedy and some dramas, but we've only just started to make and to really get out the these genre movies, whether it's horror and stuff like that. So I mean, I have a very good friend and director that I work with quite a few years ago, called Christopher Lita Santos, and he made a film called Last Broken Darkness, which was great. It was a great movie, one of the best like South African films that I've seen. And yeah, he's definitely one to look out for, and he's made a war movie before and stuff like that. But he's really cool, and he's got a very visual style. But if you get a chance, you must check out Last Broken Darkness. It's a really great South African film, even though it's set in America, but we shot it in South Africa. But yeah, it is 100%, you know, South African movie, and it's definitely one that actually should be out there more, and more people should know about it. in South Africa, and yeah, it's definitely one to recommend. So with everything being still quite new, and there is, you know, more genre films coming out, it's probably the first time that I've only just starting to take more notice of South African films, because we are normally just, a lot of people, they just make the same thing all the time here. And I think, and that's why I think Fried Barry was so important, because we don't make these films like that here. And it's just to show that we can be creative, we can do different stories that will, you know, which will break that mold in South African cinema, so we can make more movies like this, and it is commercially viable to make and to sell. And I think a lot of South African movies that get made here don't travel, because they just keep the content and stuff that they make, it just stays in South Africa. And that's why there's a whole big world out there where we can make so many, you know, genre style movies, and there is a market for it. And even if you know, even if you don't make as much money in South Africa, I mean, there's a whole world out there that you can, you know, sell to different territories, and there's, you know, there's an audience out there. And I think that's what a lot of people forget. But over the past year and a half now, there's a lot of great movies about to come out of South Africa.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Ryan, for your time.
Absolute pleasure, man. And thank you so much for having me on. And I'm happy that you enjoyed hashtag me out too. And again, it's just a small little experimental, but it's nice to, you know, get the audience over there to check it out, and the people that have checked Fried Barry out. So yeah, it's I've had great feedback so far.